Hello, hello. Good afternoon, beautiful people. Today I am going to be interviewing the beautiful and inspirational Jasmine Cheriê. She is the founder of the Heart of the Feminine. She's working with younger women, inspiring them. Oh, she's jumped on and I want to invite her. There we go. She's coming in. And yeah, she's inspiring the younger generation of women to be in their feminine heart, to come into their feminine power. And she's coming in. Hello, hello.
Hello, darling. Hang on.
Hello.
Hang on. I think you can only see my face. Oh. There we go.
I can see you. Can you hear me okay?
I can hear you perfectly. Yeah. Can you hear me?
Right. I can hear you.
Cool.
So I was just briefly introducing you. But as you're here now, I would love you just to tell the audience what it is that you do and what you stand for.
Okay. So right now I've started a passion project this year called the Heart of the Feminine. And there was another project that I was doing before called the Divine Feminine Collective, which was all about women's sexuality and sensuality and intimacy and relationships. And I'm still really passionate about those conversations, and I'm still passionate about who we as women are in relationship with our men and for ourselves. You know, I don't think that conversation will ever die. It's such a potent conversation. But something that's really come alive in me this year, Shan, is I met this young girl, 18-year-old girl. I met her in Nepal. She's from New Zealand. We were on retreat together, and she was sharing with me about her life, and it was like our souls connected straight away. As soon as we met, she really opened up to me about what she's experiencing in her life as an 18-year-old girl, and I saw so much of me in her, and she took my breath away, she's dealing with the same stuff really that we deal with. We just we think our teenagers, they've got it good, but some of the stuff that not only her but her peers and in relationship with boys and with girls and at school and at uni and through their teenage years, just like I experienced what she experienced as well. And then I looked around our community we have got so many conscious leaders. There goes. I just gave conscious leaders a plug. There's so much work available to us as adults. Like, I'm in my 30s and I open up my Facebook feed, or there's so much work available to us, and I don't see much work being made available, like the embodiment work, the conversation about relationships, the conversation about self-love, the conversations around boundaries, the conversations of our emotions and how to deal with emotions. And so something really just came alive in me, and I was like, I want to bring the work that I've been so deeply journeying specifically over the last 4 or 5 years of my life. Like, I've done a lot of personal development, I've done a lot of business, I've done a lot of leadership training courses, but in particular, like the feminine embodiment stuff, that's been really life-changing for me. I want to bring that forward to teenage girls. So I've created this project called the Heart of the Feminine, and it's going to evolve. We've got events coming up for teenage girls in the upcoming September school holidays, and I want to let them know that they have a choice, and no matter what their life circumstances are, whether, you know, their parents got divorced, whether they got bullied hard in school, which is what I like. That's what I experienced. Like,
Yeah.
I experienced a lot of loneliness, like extreme amount of loneliness as a teenage girl. I got called every name under the sun. I used to go home from school crying my eyes out in my mother's arms because the girls, like, I was at a girls' school. It was brutal. So, and that's one of the other conversations we're going to be having is, you know, the conversation of sisterhood and
Yeah.
how to build and cultivate relationships with women
Yeah.
instead of, you know, the competing and comparing and the nastiness. Like,
Yeah.
I've had to do so much work in my life, like healing work on healing the sisterhood wound, which, you know, there's so many conversations that I want to have with these girls that are so important, and they're really going to change their lives, like in a really
Yeah.
profound way. Yeah. Anyways, I feel like I just
Yeah.
totally rabbited on.
No, no, that's beautiful. And I think you're so right. There is such a gap still around like younger women being
Mm,
taught these things that so readily available to us. And
yeah.
like, you know, it's amazing that we have all these workshops now and all these
Mm,
coaches, but you're right, like I don't see many people directly speaking to the younger women.
mm,
And if we had this information earlier on, what
mm,
could be different? If we were
mm,
having these conversations 10, 15, 20 years ago, what could be different? And so I think what you're bringing through is just revolutionary and so needed.
mm,
And thank you for being the person to bring this through.
thank you. Yeah, I really, I was like, where it really came through me while I was on retreat in Nepal, and it was really black and white for me. Like, there was no like, oh, should I or shouldn't I? I was like, no, we need to have these conversations, and we need to, like, the trajectory of my life. And I mean, I don't live a bad life now. I'm very grateful for my life, but I wouldn't have had to do all the healing that I would have had to do. You know, like, there's just like conditioning that I've had to undo and walls I've needed to break down, and, you know, my life, and I know all of our lives would be so different if we were actually taught, if someone had these conversations with us in
Yeah.
school, you know. And yeah, even my mum said to me a number of years ago, and I'm quite close with my mum. Like, I've got a beautiful relationship with my mum, but she came on retreat with me, and she had this really powerful moment with my mum. She came and in one of the breaks, she held my face in her hands. And she's like, honey, I'm so sorry I didn't teach you. Like, she had tears in her eyes. I get emotional talking about when I share this, but Mum was like, honey, I'm so sorry I didn't teach you any of this. So I didn't know. And I'm like,
Yeah.
it's okay, Mum. You know, like, we're here now, you know, like, and I was so much of a tomboy. Like, oh my God. So I probably wasn't ready to have those conversations. But, you know, so
Yeah.
it's really what I want to bring through in this life. And I've been really moved so deeply even in the last week, the last 2 weeks. I have women like you, and I have so many women in our community who are reaching out to me, women with like 7-figure businesses, you know, saying, Jazz, what can we do to support you? And it's really just blown me away that everyone's just like behind me. Like, I don't take that for granted.
Mm. Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah. Yeah. It's all here for you. There is so much support, and
Mm.
yeah, I love that us women can now come together and, you know, really just give our love and our warmth. And there is that I don't sense any sense of competition or separation. And what I wanted to ask you, and this just
Mm.
came through when you were
Mm.
speaking like earlier, was about this sisterhood wound that is so deep and
Mm.
prevalent.
Mm.
What do you think like is holding that? Like what are these big wounds? Because what I've seen in myself is that the parts of me that I reject and I'm disgusted by, you know, when I see them in another woman, I'm like,
Mm.
I don't want to be like her, or I feel so much resistance towards her.
Mm.
And then, so that keeps me away from her rather than kind of leaning in towards her. So what do you think, you know, what are the factors in these sisterhood wounds? Like, why is it so deep and so painful?
Mm. Well, how far do you want me to go back? Because I can talk about my journey and what I experienced. Which I got bullied hard in school, and even before high school, I had one cousin who I've got I got an enormous family, but one cousin who's 1 year older than me, and when I was 11 and she was 12, she was struck by lightning and she died. And it was in November 1992 that she passed, and we were meant to go into high school together at this girls' school. So I guess I experienced abandonment, and then also my best friend left me, like she wasn't here anymore. And then I sort of entered high school, and the journey that I took there, it's more like my journey has been about, like, I haven't felt safe.
Yeah.
Because of the competing and the comparing and even, and I know so deeply I am not the only human being in the world that has ever experienced this. Like, it's something, when I talk to, when I, sit in circle with my sisterhood and I share about, like the jealousy or the insecurity that I felt, when I've been in a relationship and shaming myself for, having those emotions, can you hear that sound? No.
It's just gone. Yeah, it
Oh,
was.
okay. Okay, yeah, cool. I have, because there's been so much shame around those emotions and those things that we don't really talk about, because if you experience jealousy or if you experience being insecure or you experience being unsafe, like there's shame there. And when I have shared my experience, in circle with the women in my life, they've all put their hand up. I said, Jazz, I experienced that as well. It's just like,
Yeah.
we don't talk about it, and we don't know. There's an education and an unlearning that needs to happen, and a safety that we need to learn to cultivate within ourselves. Of, like, the conversation is about who we are as human beings, who I am for myself.
Yeah.
And how so loved that I am, and how beautiful I am, and how much I belong. And I didn't learn that as a teenager. I didn't learn that in my 20s. Like, and it was just, and I didn't know how to have those conversations. I didn't know that I could actually trust women and my sisters in the way that I do now. And I look around my circle of women, including you, and it blows me away who we are for each other. Like it at a soul level, it moves my spirit, and I didn't know that was available. So I've lived my life in fear of women. And when I asked before, like, how far do you want me to go back? We could go back a couple hundred years when women were being burnt at the stake for their feminine powers. In the height of the patriarchy, the shadow patriarchy. And then we had to keep our own selves safe. We needed to, like, tell the kings and queens that, okay, that person's a witch and that person's a witch, so that they would get burnt, just to keep ourselves safe. So, this isn't a new conversation for me. This isn't something that just Jasmine Cheriê has experienced in her life. Like, this is something that we're born with, and it's in our DNA. And so there's an unlearning that needs to happen. And there's women like you and me and Vic and the women in our sisterhood who are a real stand for that, and who we are for each other, and the support and love that we can cultivate within our relationships. Like, it's so sacred. And I'm only just getting that now in the last couple of years of my life. And I've had so much fear around women, Shan. Like, I know what it's like to feel that fear, and I know what it's like to be in circle with women and to learn to, it's breaking the conditioning that we're not safe with our sisters, because we are, and we don't have to compete and compare with them. Like, it's just, it's been a revolutionary thing in my life. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, and I feel like what I've recognized as well is like the mirror of that is like trusting my own feminine.
Mm.
And when I
Yeah.
trust my own feminine, you know, the feminine outside of me doesn't feel so threatening.
Mm. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's a mirror.
Yeah.
So I guess the last big question I'd like to ask you is, what do you feel that these women need to know? Like
Mm-hmm.
the women that you want to speak to and that you want to like magnetize towards you, what do they need to know? And like particularly in romantic relationships, what do you feel is important for them to know in going into um, you know, romance and connecting with men and really just like knowing themselves?
Yeah. Okay. So this has been something that I have learnt this year. So, you know, earlier on we spoke about who we are. You know, it's a conversation that I'm really passionate about, is who we as women are being, who we be in a relationship with the men in our lives and our intimate partners. And so there's a whole lot of work that I did last year, and, you know, courses that I brought through. I did the Sacred Pathway to Loving Men last year. And a lot of it was about, you know, having women and having myself as well be responsible for how I show up in relationship, and learning to hold space for men. Um, and so that, I mean, they were such important conversations. You know, letting, you know, understanding that men have such tender hearts and such beautiful hearts, and that, you know, that they're, you know, they want to be heard and they want to be held and they want to be loved as well. But the big piece for me that's come through this year is about boundaries.
Yeah.
And I don't believe, no matter what age you are, is that, I mean, there's so many things I could talk about. Oh, my God. But no matter what age you are, the conversation of boundaries and showing up in a way and allowing people to treat you in a way that's in alignment with you, or I'll talk about me, in alignment with me, and what's important, you know, for me to feel safe. And it's all through communication, and it's through, you know, speaking what's alive inside of me and what my truth is. And if we don't, if we don't learn to speak from that core of who we are, for what's right for us and what's in alignment for us, then that's where trauma happens. Do you know?
Yeah.
And so that's, I mean, there's lots of things that I, you know, ways I could have answered this, but that's something that's been a big piece for me this year to learn, is about like holding space for, you know, our partners in a way that's, you know, has them feel safe, but also the boundaries piece has been something that was really missing for me in my life, you know, in relationship. And it was like I let all my boundaries go out the window, and the impact of that on my life was I created, and I can be responsible for that, I created trauma in me. And, you know, there's been healing work for me to do this year, you know, because I didn't have those boundaries. So if we can live our lives in alignment with who we are as women, and connect to our wounds and our hearts, you know, and have that vertical compass, you know, as the pillar in our life, that we come back to who we are, then that's what's going to magnetize and draw people in, and have us shine in our relationships. Yeah, I'm like, and, you know, that's a big thing, Shan. Like, I've learned so much from you, just, you know, from being a friend, you know, but all the stuff that you're bringing through, I'm just like, oh, that's like, oh, why didn't I know that like 10 years ago? Like, like, oh, like, it's been a realization. I'm like, why am I only learning this now? Like, oh, it's just, yeah, there's so much to learn, and there's so, you know, there's so many ways that we can just love ourselves so much more. And when we do that, like, we can just show up so much more powerfully in relationship with with our sisters and with, you know, the men in our lives and our intimate partners and even our colleagues and the people we live with. Like it's just so potent, and it's all about our relationship with ourselves. Like,
Yes.
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
I feel like I've done so much talking.
Well, that's what the interview was for.
Yeah,
So,
I guess so. I think
no,
it's
I
I think it's
go
because
on.
I'm used to being on the interviewer side of an interview, not the interviewee.
No, I love it, and I love hearing your perspective and your
Mm.
journey and what you have to say and what you're
Mm.
bringing. I think it's so powerful and important, and yeah, I'm just celebrating you for bringing this through.
Mm. Thank you, my
Yeah,
love.
and
Yeah.
so the retreat that you're running
Oh,
for
yeah.
young women, when is that, and how can
Okay.
people find out about it?
Okay, so I will post a comment in the thread of this this live, and so the retreat. So it's for teenage girls between the ages of 13 and 17. There's 2 events. There's one in Brisbane. So it's in the first week of the upcoming September school holidays. So
Yeah.
it's on the 23rd and 24th in Brisbane. The girls get to go home to you know, their families each night. It's not a residential retreat. So it goes for 2 full days. And then the next one is on the Thursday and Friday that week. So that's Thursday the 26th and Friday the 27th of September. And that's going to be in Burleigh Heads on the Gold Coast. So if you are a mother and you have a teenage girl, or you know a mother with a teenage girl, please share the link with them, or you know, if you want to do a you know, like, I don't know, get them to friend me and reach out to me. You know, I'm really passionate about this work, and I'm really passionate, you know, that our teenage girls at this such precious time in their lives as they transition into womanhood, that they know that they have a choice in life, and they don't have
Yeah.
to be a victim of whatever it is that they're facing, and that, you know, when they come back to themselves and they come back to their hearts, that, you know, they can make powerful choices from there. Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you so much.
I
Thank
love
you for bringing
you.
your wisdom and your heart. It's so, so beautiful, and I'm
Yeah.
just celebrating you all the way.
Thank you, love. And I celebrate you too. Thank you. I honor you. I honor us. I honor the work that we're all doing, and I love you. And like, thank you. Like, truly,
I
thank
love you
you.
too. I love you too. So you're going to leave the link in the comments to the retreats that you're running, and then people
Yes.
can direct themselves through that.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Yeah. All right. I love you.
Thank you so much. I love you.
Bye,
Thank you for watching,
darling.
everyone. Mwah,
Bye,
mwah.
everyone.